the program this week we have Stacey Ferreira, the co-author of a book out today on the millennial generation, which says that, contrary to what you might have heard, kids are okay. Now, there are 2 billion people in the world today that are under the age of 20. That's about 25 or 27% of the total global population. Now, at the same time, there's a trope, which you must have heard by now, that the kids these days are lazy, live with their parents, and they're entitled and maybe even doomed. However, here in technology, youth can almost be a currency. Young founders are sought out and funded by even the largest firms. Now, why is that? Well, the thought is that kids may have a better pulse on what's coming up next, and therefore what might make a good investment. And as we all know, the VC community is not known for being really diverse or young. But as we learned last week, the average age of a founder of a unicorn or a tech company worth more than $1 billion is 34, which is not that young. So how important really is youth? And are generations things we should care about? Let's find out. Next up, Stacey Ferreira to tell us why we should all be a little bit more optimistic.
Stacey Ferreira founded My Social Cloud at 18, later raising over $1 million before selling the business to Reputation.com. An optimist, Ferreira argues in her new book, 2 Billion Under 20, that millennials are not layabouts. Instead, she says the generation is an ambitious melting pot of go-getters. It's certainly true that a number of tech companies are founded by teens. Is this trend accelerating?
Please welcome to the program, Stacey Ferreira. Hello, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. So I read your book today, and I have to admit, I'm a little bit skeptical of generational lines and dividing up the population into over and under a certain threshold. So I'm very curious, when you picked 20, why did you pick that as a demarcation line?
Jared Kleiner and I met each other at the Teal Fellowship Summit, which, if you're familiar with Peter Thiel's initiative of the Teal Fellowship, he picks 20 kids who are 20 or under 20 to give $100,000 to drop out of college and build something great. Or
try to build something great. It's been kind of a medium success at best, I think.
And so we met each other at the Teal Fellowship Summit. And so when we had thought about the book, that was the premise. It was, what are the kids who are really young in the world doing to make an impact, doing to make a difference? And so that's where we came up with the name 2 Billion Under 20.
So people that are under the age of 20 are, in fact, right now millennials. They're part of the millennial generation, which is a phrase I think we've all heard 16,419 times today. It feels so broad to me. Does the phrase millennial actually have any meaning to it, or is it just ugh?
I know everyone has their own different definition for millennial, but I think
they're all bad. But yes, you're right.
I think it's basically this group of young people who are going out there today and saying it's okay to kind of change the status quo. It's okay to do things differently.
Sure.
It's okay to start a business or go out and start a nonprofit and really make your mark on the world. And it's not so much a focus on like how much money are you making or other kind of.
It's impact-based, not financially lucrative-based. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so your book is an argument essentially that tries to call bullshit on the idea that the millennial generation or the under 20s are lazy. I think if you watch the mainstream media, mostly they say, these kids these days, they're in their parents' house, they don't do anything. Mm-hmm. Reading through the stories in the book, it's certainly not the case.
Right, totally. So if you look on Google right now and you type in millennials are, the first 3 results that you'll get are lazy, entitled, and stupid. And so the book really...
Well, I'm all 3 of those things, so I actually fit that thing.
I disagree.
But I think the larger point holds. I mean, what do you think has driven that specific narrative? What's born that thought process? The
millennial generation is a generation that kind of knows what they want, and they say, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to go get it. And it's directed towards the things that they're directly passionate about, and not necessarily working a 9-to-5 job of someone saying, these are the things you have to do. So it's more of a self-made passion that they're going after.
On that point, though, we've seen a lot of talk in technology about the idea that younger people are driving the direction of technology innovation. That really, people that are building Snapchat are not 45, they're more like 19.
Right.
And so do you think we're going to see an increasing impact of these under 20s on where technology kind of goes next?
100%. I think if you look at any of the high schools today, even middle schools today, you'll see that a lot of these schools are training kids more about what technology is out there. How can you program things? How can you start learning how to build drones? Things like that is just increasing people's ability to use technology in different ways. And I think because kids are getting the education a lot younger and then going outside of the classroom and doing more with that, we'll see that by the time people get into college, they'll be doing way more in technology.
Is that a global point, or is that more of a U.S. focused point?
I think it's a U.S. focused point for now, but I see it totally expanding. So we have
how does that happen? How does it actually kind of broach these borders and go out to, to Ghana and to China and so forth?
Yeah, I think social media has a huge impact on this. I know in the 2 billion under 20 community itself, we have kids from all over the globe who are talking in like a Facebook group that we have.
Sure.
Kids tweet each other back and forth and say, these are the things that I'm working on. Here, read my blog post about this Arduino. And it's just because of those learnings and those breaking down of barriers because of the internet that's making this all possible and spreading a lot faster than it would have 50 years ago.
So before you go, in 10 years, say, so run this out to when these kids that are under 20 are just now then under 30s, do you think they're the leading captains of technology, or do you think the old guard will still be in charge?
I think it's the kids. I definitely think it's the kids. I think they're the ones that are hungry to learn. They're the ones that are out there building and iterating every day. Sometimes when you're older, it's a lot easier to kind of stick in your ways, and there's a lot of knowledge that people can learn from people who have been in the industry for a while. But I think the kids are fearless enough to go out and build something and make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bullish airs every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and you can find it here on TechCrunch.com.